ma'am.
Oh, okay. Well, hello. Okay. Well, thank you, Chris and Susan and Daniel. So we're all here now. Thank you for being with us. I wanted to mention that in Toronto, we're in lockdown. So we've come full circle since we started doing our Zoom visits. And I think probably a lot of you, whether you're in Canada or in the United States, find yourself in the same spot. And I thought it was maybe a good time to just reach out and to wish all of you a happy Hanukkah and a Merry Christmas and a very happy and a healthy new year. That's the one thing that we all look forward to this year. So something that we'll do together. It's going to be a great year, 2021, I'm sure. So I'm very excited that Chris Taylor is our guest today. He is the executive director of Pilchuck since 2018. And we are also going to be joined by Susan Marabito from the Chihuly Studios. She'll join us a little bit later on in the program, but Susan is here, and of course, Daniel's here with us. You know, I was lucky enough to meet Chris in person last year. Chris, it was last June. It seems like years ago, 2019. It was a gorgeous day, and I brought a great group of people from Toronto and Montreal to visit Pilchuck. And most of them weren't really that familiar with Pilchuck, but they all left. It was one of the most powerful days we spent out west in Seattle. It was just an eye-opener for everyone. And many of you know Pilchuck very well. Some of you are even on the board of trustees, and you've been following Pilchuck for so many years. But as I say, many people are very new to Pilchuck. So just to give a little bit of a background, that Pilchuck was founded in 1971 by Dale Chihuly and Anne Gould Hallberg and John Hallberg. It started out just as a summer glass blowing workshop. And now Pilchuck is considered to be the world's most comprehensive glass center in the world, educational center in the world, which is absolutely amazing. And Chris, you're at the helm of that now. So you have a lot of responsibility. When we started doing our virtual studio visits back in April, we've been doing them from April until now. I don't think there's been one artist who hasn't said that if it wasn't for Pilchuck, or just how important Pilchuck was to them, whether it was whether it was in their work, defining their work, or whether it was in the relationships. And that's something that we hear over and over again, I think, in the quote glass world, is how important the relationships are. So today, Chris is going to talk about the Pilchuck Glass School, and he's going to talk a little bit about one of its founders, Dale Chihuly, about the campus and what the future holds for Pilchuck. So, and also he's going to tell us a great deal. I've left this for you, Chris, to tell everyone about your background. I think that everyone wants to know more about you. So I'm going to let you share that with everyone. If you have questions for Chris, if you will write them in the chat box or write into the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. And then after Chris's talk, Daniel will reach out to you about those questions, or we'll get them answered by Chris. So it is absolutely my pleasure to say hello to Chris Taylor and to welcome you to all our guests here today, Chris. Good to see you.
Hi. Nice to see you. Thank you for the invite and for so many people being willing to check out what we're up to here at Pilchuck. Did that share properly, to the wonders of technology? You're seeing my title screen? Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'll take it away. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, everyone. Again, yes, happy Hanukkah. We're day 4, are we today? The evening coming up?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday. Day 4.
Day 4,
I guess I could go over it, yes.
I will take it away from here. I want to give you a little bit of background about me here, who you're hearing from today, and give you a rundown, sort of if we were to give a tour of Pilchuck, which we were glad to do with Sandra last year, and hopefully we'll do again this coming year. So I'm breaking it down to 3 sort of areas of place, people, and creativity. And then we'll talk a bit about the 50th. So we'll move on with this one. Next slide. Are we going to advance? There we go. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I mentioned my mom. Give a shout out to Rosemary Liebman on the call. Born in Pittsburgh. I did receive my bachelor's degree in fine arts and sculpture and a dual degree in religious studies. I was in school, and this is not my artwork. This is Pablo Picasso's guitar, but I often tell the story of how I got interested in this thing called arts administration. I was in an art history course for modern and contemporary art, and they were running a video about Cubism. And at the end of the video, before my professor could go up and turn the VCR off, there was a thank you to the museum, the Metropolitan Museum, for their show, Picasso and Brock. And they showed a woman picking a Picasso guitar out of a box and setting it on a table. And it occurred to me at that time that someone gets to touch the art. I mean, we've grown up all our lives being told not to touch, but it occurred to me that there's a whole world behind this thing that we go walk into museums and see. I mean, from the education to the studios to the training facilities like Pilchuck. So it just sort of clicked, and from there I ended up working in the school gallery and helping visiting artists, taking kids to school up to New York twice a year. So I just sort of dove in and was sort of an arts administrator before I knew what it was. It led me to the Art Institute of Chicago, where I achieved my Master's of Arts Administration and Policy. Some of what arts administration is, these are some of the places I've worked. In Pittsburgh, Three Rivers Arts Festival, out in Philadelphia right before this, the Clay Studio, spent some time in Montana running a museum. So, and this is sort of just a rundown of some of the things I've done. Three Rivers Arts Festival was kind of fun. I went as a kid and was able to then come back later and was an associate director there for about 2 years. So I've worked in a variety of settings, whether it's a educational setting or bringing art to the community. I gave a presentation recently to Little Rock, Arkansas, University of Arkansas in Little Rock, and they asked, what does an arts administrator do? It's really about planning, project management, people management, really forecasting the future of an institution, trying to take and look at the situation for an institution, and then going after setting up the plans, hiring the people, advancing the goals to keep these places afloat. And this past year has been a real challenge with that. We're coming through the year, I think, on a pretty strong note, but that's really thinking and building for the long term. I often think of myself as in service to the mission, because Pilchuck, it's coming up on its 50 years. It was founded a handful of years before I was born, and will be here long after I'm gone. So I get to serve this mission for a brief period of time. So that's at least how it keeps my head on straight and keeps me respecting the places. So this is sort of me. I mean, I've always wanted to bring arts to the community. I've always wanted to make sure that kids had an opportunity to have arts in their education and part of a well-rounded education. And then recently with both the Clay Studio and here at Pilchuck, really thinking about artists' careers at all stages, getting them into exhibitions, getting them additional training, getting them networks, sending recommendation letters, etc. So really working with artists at all stages of their career. So I always talk about artist, community, and kids. I'm going to dive into Pilchuck here. That brings me sort of, that's how I arrived on this doorstep in April of 2018, was it? It does feel like a million years ago, doesn't it? Yeah. This is our sign out in Stanwood, Washington. We're located about an hour drive north, depending on traffic, of Seattle, Washington. Before we start, we always like to begin with our land recognition statement that we're located on the ceded territories of the Port Elliott tribe, the Treaty of Port Elliott Tribes, and we certainly honor the people who past and present and who continue to contribute to our region. So this is not only a past thing, this is certainly very much a present community. I would start here, and this would probably be the longest time I spend on any single slide. This is where I'd welcome you if you were getting off a bus with Sandra and then coming up into our lodge where we have our slideshows and have our lunches and this beautiful view, which I'll get you on the other side of those windows in a moment. But to really tell you about what we're starting with Pilchuck, and many of you know If we start in 1971, we've probably missed the first 9 years of studio glass in America. So I start this story usually in Toledo in 1962 with Harvey Littleton, who really was the first person, a ceramic instructor from Wisconsin, who came to Toledo and was experimenting with glass on a more small scale. Prior to this in the United States, glass, many of you know this, I'm telling you history that many of you know, but it does feed into the founding of Pilchuck 9 short years later. The glass was primarily limited to industrial scale, like bottles and windows and Corning, and or this sort of centers of Europe where the old masters and techniques were kind of guarded pretty closely. So those were really what glass was until Harvey brought this out and had this demonstration. Dale, who's originally from Tacoma, had a degree, received his degree at UW in interior design and architecture, studied later under Harvey at the University of Wisconsin, probably I want to say late 60s. He was there for about a year, and then went on to the Rhode Island School of Design. Many of you heard the phrase RISD, that's Rhode Island School of Design, where he received his Master's of Fine Arts in glass. In his final year, he received a Fulbright to go to those centers of Europe and study, mainly to go to the Vanini factory in Murano in Venice, Italy. But after that experience, went around and met some of these great artists who had these techniques in Germany and Prague and Italy as well. So he was building an international network that would later come to greatly benefit Pilchuck. So you'll see that, and I'll touch on that a bit later. So back to the US, he's the head of glass at RISD, and he goes to a place called Haystack Mountain School of Craft up in Maine, in Deer Island, Maine, and he's teaching in the summers. And he says to himself, I want to start something like this back in my home region, back in Tacoma, Seattle, Pacific Northwest, and kicks this idea around with some of the students. And one of his longtime friends, Jack Leonard Larson, who is a fiber artist, they knew each other from undergrad. And Jack said, you know, if you're coming out here, you should really talk to this couple who have a tree farm just north of Seattle, John and Ann Gould Halberg. They are interested in the arts, they have some land, and you should come on up and have a peek. So they met, they toured the land, and this is one of the sort of spots, if you were to walk out through that windows, through the doors and the windows, you'd be looking out over the Puget Sound, the Salish Sea. This is a photo actually of John and Dale, John Halberg on the right, and Dale on the left in '82. So it's a little later, but it's just sort of a beautiful photo we have of their meeting and their friendship that was really important for the founding, which is why we don't just say Dale. We always say 3 people, John, Dale, and Ann Gould Halberg, who were the founders of Pilchuck. Because as we know, vision takes finance and vision takes support, and that's really what John offered. But here they are on the side of this mountain looking out over this, and there's no infrastructure, no buildings, no housing, no plumbing. I mean, this was the back to the earth 70s movement. So they decide they want to build this glass studio here on the side of the mountain. And they set about doing that. And they had to build their own housing. They've got tents and lean-tos, and there's Dale and Robert Hendrickson and Jamie Carpenter on the right. There's a famous stump. I think I've seen photos of that particular stump. Again, this was a working tree farm. I wore this shirt today to show you kind of what Pilchuck is. This is our logo in the middle of a 15,000 acre tree farm. There's a little Pilchuck logo. So gives you a sense of we're way out in the middle. We really are out in the middle of a massive tree farm. So they're building their housing. This is Buster Simpson up in a tree a few years after our founding. And this is a yurt made by one of the early artists here and current board member, Thurman Statham. But of course, the priority here, they had to do the housing, but the priority was making glass. So we've got a great early photo here of Dale and Jamie Carpenter on the left, putting in those sort of poles for the first pad to build a furnace. This is an artist who was pretty good at sewing, Michael Nerote, I think is how you pronounce his last name. They got Army surplus tents. Dale had a grant from the Union of Independent Colleges to kind of support this crazy endeavor up on the mountains. And here we are, the first year with a full tent. It's a pretty historic photo for us and a unique shape. And there they were blowing glass for about, I want to say 8 weeks. I think it was all of July and August. So this is the Hot Shop, 1971. I heard Dale's stories of this particular furnace. They did a pretty decent job, but a crack formed on the side, and eventually gathering glass out of the crack was even easier than gathering out of the front of the furnace. But they did it, and they worked, and they spent the summer making glass, making objects and artwork. The end of the summer comes, and this famous story of John Hauberg coming to Dale and saying, "So how'd you do financially? You finished the year." And Dale said, "Well, I had a grant of $2,000 and I owe $7,500 to the bank," which I remind my board and finance directors that our financial problems were from the beginning, the financial difficulties of running a place. So he said, "How much do you want to do?" John asked Dale, "What would you like to do? How much would it cost to do this next summer?" And Dale thought about it and said, $25,000 to do it right. And John, I think without hesitation, said, "I'll do it and I'll pay the bank. Let's do this again next year." And so for the next decade, John and Anne sort of helped fund and support Dale's vision. You know, I think Richard Marquis called it a crazy idea in the mountains, and it still remains a crazy idea in the mountains. But here they were building from scratch this thing, and they realized that you can't do that every year. So within, I want to say 2 years, this is the construction of our current hot shop, 1973. This is the construction underway. I think within a few feet of the original tent, and you can kind of see some of the tent structure, the vocabulary. It's interesting in researching for this, I knew the architect was Tom Bosworth, who's won awards for many of the pieces he put, buildings that he built here for Pilchuck, and we'll see them here in a few moments. But I actually found out that he was a young architect on the RISD faculty who was on the Fulbright committee that sent Dale to Europe back in the late 60s. So I this nice, interesting bits of information from our Pilchuck 25th anniversary book that was published by Bettina Oldnow. And this huzzah moment, I had no idea that Tom had that relationship to Pilchuck before there was a Pilchuck. This is sort of what the inside of the hot shop looks, inside looking up, and you can see here on the right what it looks like today. You know, it's often referred to, and here's my religious studies training. I walk in and it's like, it feels like a cathedral to glass. I mean, it's a sacred space for a lot of people. I've been continuing our tour. This is on the left, black and white photo of Tom Bosworth designed a flat shop, because in the set, at least on campus, the sort of two art forms predominantly were blown glass and stained glass. So this was the space, we still call it the flat shop. Here on the right it's been enclosed, and it's actually changed to more for neon and for flame working. We have up in the back, back corner, you can kind of see that's become more of a kiln and studio building for stained glass when we offer that course. By 78, we completed our lodge. And this is really a two-story, but with a giant second floor that's another cathedral-like interior that it serves as our kitchen, as our dining facility. That slide at the beginning, and you would have been sitting inside there looking out. And down below is our library, and we've got some laundry facilities, print facilities, some restrooms, and kitchen is all sort of encompassed in this sort of center of campus life. One of my first projects upon arrival was replacing that entire deck. It had sort of been facing this salty-ish air and the elements. It rains a little bit up here in the Pacific Northwest, you may have heard. So we replaced that entire deck in my first off season, if you will, at the beginning of 19. This is another studio building. Again, I mentioned that we moved sort of stained glass up here, but it's multifunction. I actually had a class in there our second year that was kiln construction and understanding the mechanics. So they built, there was all these wires and gears, and we had a local furnace and kiln maker who they built a furnace, a kiln, and a glory hole in one session. So it's a super versatile building here. It's built in 1986, and actually right now, through those windows behind me, this building is undergoing some rehabilitation in the off season, some waterproofing, and again, it rains a bit up here. And this is some housing. There's a student sort of dormitory cottage here on the upper left, and more faculty, staff housing here on the right. So very rustic, beautifully designed. Most of them, again, Tom Bosworth, not all of them. I believe these are later than Tom's involvement. So you get a real experience when you come to Pilchuck. I'll talk about that in a moment, sort of how the flow goes. And we have a bit of artwork. This is what I'm looking forward to in the upper left in the next few weeks. It's right outside my front door almost, is a totem pole that was put together in honor of our 30th anniversary, a Tlingit design. Preston Singletary and David Svensson helped organize that in honor of our 30th. I'll talk about who's on that totem pole in a bit about our 50th anniversary. I've got a small sign here in glass for our 20th, and then this iconic image here on the right by Hank Murda Adams was we call the Trojan horse. And I think this is true. I heard that it was called the Trojan horse because we weren't supposed to have permanent artwork, but then he was Hank was had this class and was building it, and it was never going to move. It's like concrete construction, so he snuck it in. I don't know if that's why they call it the Trojan horse, but I'll investigate that. Hank's coming up this summer, so I'll find out how that name was given. And so in each one of these sections, I just want to remind folks that I need support. So one program we've developed is called Adopt an Acre. If you're interested, we're supporting doing a 3-year commitment of $5,000 a year to support all the green, the maintenance of all these facilities. We've got 55 acres with 60 buildings in the rain and the weather and the elements. And we're trying to do some more green and sustainability initiatives. So if you're interested, my email's on the program, and you can always find me on our website. So that's one way to help when it comes to the place. People, I love this. I mean, obviously this is about the talents and the people we bring, and instructors and the knowledge that's shared between people. This is actually our 25th anniversary. So those are quick with math. 25 years ago, I can tell because in the middle here, the yellow person is sort of up in the back in the middle almost is Anne. We'll see a photo of her later. She was crowned queen of everything that day. So this is sort of a gathering of folks outside our hot shop during that anniversary. I just picked sort of 3 photos that I think talk about the kind of techniques and things that are brought to Pilchuck. Obviously, we've got up in the upper left, glass blowing with Dale Chihuly and Billy Morris there. We've got in the middle, Ginny Ruffner, who brought flame working, I think, to a new level of respect at Pilchuck, was one of her contributions, many contributions to great lady. And then on the far right, we've got Lino Tagliapietra, who represented, as I said, many of those European masters who came through the invitation of the various artists here. Lino being invited by Benny Moore and others coming, such as Erwin Eich from Germany, the Stanislav Lebinsky and Brichtova from Prague, and Italo Scanga from Italy, I think was one of the early folks from Dale, and Ann Wolf from Sweden. So many folks. And I just love to, you never know who's going to be standing around in the background of a photo at Pilchuck, but it's like, oh, let's take a photo of Lino, but there's a young Dante Marioni standing in the background. So just love the sort of generations of folks who've been coming through here. And here's just a handful of others. This is Preston Singletary holding the top of the hat that goes onto the totem pole, which he and his wife, I believe, or no, I'm sorry, he and Deborah Moore, I think, we're working on that. I saw in the video, we're actually making that. We got Richard Marquis up there, sort of a throwback photo. Nancy Callan working more recently in the studio, and then there's Anne Gould Halberg, who's again one of our 3 founders, and sort of well respected, and couldn't have done it without her wearing a Ginny Ruffner crown. So. And of course, people also, we have gatherings, we have little parties, we have these sort of fundraisers. This is probably on the left, a student-to-student auction. You can see all the artwork down the middle of the table, and these guys taking advantage of a toga party. They raise money for scholarships for each other to have a good time. And at Pilchuck, there's a little party happens and fundraising. So they're supporting each other. They work really hard, and being here immersed in this time together, a lot of relationships and friendships and marriages, many have come out of Pilchuck. And I was telling Sandra and Daniel the other day that I've probably looked at this photo of John and Ann on the right a dozen times before I realized he's not on a horse, he's on a slug. Pilchuck is known for its, it's funny because the slugs appear, and every once in a while there's a neon slug, or there's a slug on a t-shirt, or there's slugs on these sort of photos. And they even had slug races. It's very wet up here, and it's famous for when the artists had their self-made housing to kind of wake up and have sort of slugs everywhere. And I can attest, there are quite a bit of them. Again, how you can help for the people. I mean, there's scholarships. We really encourage groups to support communities or artists in their neighborhood or in their community or your alma mater to help support the expense of coming to Pilchuck, because it's, you know, it's an immersive experience. It can range up to $4,000 for a 3-week course, and that's, you know, not available for we have some scholarships, but not necessarily available for, you know, federal work study or financial aid that way. So it's always our mission to get people here. So if you've got a glass group in your community, I know the Arizona Glass Group will partner and pool their funds and offer a scholarship every year to an artist from Arizona. So there's ways of doing that. So again, reach out and let me know if you want to help bring these people to our campus. So what are we all doing? What's the point? We're all coming together for the creativity of it all, from making artwork. This is a time-lapse photo or an open shutter of someone getting glass out of a furnace and pouring into a sand mold. You kind of see the dance that we have. Also the name and title of our DVD, Pilchuck, A Dance with Fire. So you can see very much that this was a dance with fire. This was the first poster that happened. Originally, I got the name Susan. It was Art Wood, who was the graphic designer, who was, I believe, at RISD, who helped with the first year. It's just some of the lines you can read. You don't see Pilchuck on here. We didn't really have a name. We were a no deposit, lots of return glass workshop, which many people believe was the throwback to Robert Arneson's no deposit, no return ceramic bottle, which they would have known about at this time. But one of the things I love, it says free tuition, you provide food and camping equipment. We don't get away with that now. We provide the food and the lodge and the housing. So we've grown over the years. And at the very bottom, you really can't make it out, but I'll tell you, it says visits to the Olympic National Forest, San Juan Island, Cascade Mountains, Mount Rainier, and Dale's mother's house. So those were some of your stops along the way to come out this first summer. And here's, I believe, in the early first summer, if not second, installation of Dale on one of the ponds behind the hot shop. The pond has since moved and is much larger, but this was a early installation, I think, sort of foreshadowing some of Dale's later career. We know he does these beautiful installations all around the world. Oops, wrong direction. So what happens? What's going on here? And I love the old phrase, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I like to think what happens at Pilchuck really goes around the world and back. You have an immersive art experience. You can come and sign up for a course anywhere from 8 to 18 days long. You learn from the masters all over the world and new techniques from artists. We'll be talking here in a few moments about our 50th anniversary programs, and you'll get to see some of the mix of techniques and masters and young emerging artists that we bring. We work, people think of Pilchuck, they think of Dale, they think of glass blowing. Sure, that's for sure. But we also have neon, fusing, molds, casting, carving, performance, printmaking. I mean, it's all glass related and glass centric, but it's really, like many things, expanding beyond a single medium of a single thing. New technologies, 3D printing, carving, etc. So another great part about this immersive experience is you kind of roll in, you get your cabin settled and your stuff ready, you put your car aside, and it's a walkable campus, and 24 hours a day you're surrounded by conversations with artists and glass and in your courses, and we have slide talks after lunch, and things that we all miss. I might well up a little, the things we didn't get to do this year. So we're really looking forward to being able to bring that community together and do that next year. Within a few days it'll be next year. Yeah? So just a handful of sort of creative things that are happening. Is the upper left is Joey and Flora, just blowing glass. It's a throwback photo of Joey, Kirkpatrick, and Flora Mace. We got installations on the pond here. It doesn't happen that much anymore, but this is an installation on our pond. And I just found this photo when one of our slides was digitized recently. I have no idea. If someone knows, can put it in the chat, let me know. But this is our visiting artist studio. And so it's got these inflated legs popping outside. So there's creativity happening. The Artists in Residence program, I think, was interesting because it specifically looks to artists who aren't in glass, if you will, who aren't specifically glass artists, who can come, who already have a creative practice, already know about making work. People like Judy Chicago and Maya Lin and Joyce Scott, but they come and they get all the support to help work and learn this technique. And so the glass, remember, we were founded 9 years after really glass was hitting the United States and the studio glass movement. So this sort of creating new glass appreciators or new opening glass to new groups of collectors, I think was probably one of the early genius of many of Dale and the early team to really create new glass enthusiasts. And here's just a few other random technique shots of the middle bottom is sort of a lathe and making different kind of scientific type of glass. There's the upper left is sort of a CNC router. So they're using that to make molds and things for glass. And then a good friend of ours and longtime Pilchucker that we call it Shaney McLean is here. This is vitriography, printing on glass. Harvey Littleton was an early pioneer in some of that printing on glass, using that glass to transfer the ink, scratches, sandblasting, etching. So there's some sample of the vitriography in our print. That's actually up in the studio building there. And it's funny, I found photos of people writing with light or writing with fire. In the top two are the old throwback, like probably in the 80s and beyond earlier, and these other two in the bottom are much more recent. So this inclination to write with light or burn into paper is, and pyrography they call it, is just sort of permeated a lot around Pilchuck. So the creativity just sort of exudes everywhere. So again, before I go to the 50th, you can always help. We need equipment. We've got tons of operating capital to support creativity, fund an artist. We had a few people who liked our lineup and funded an artist for their travel and their stipends. So there's ways to help if you're interested. I'm going to go into the 50th anniversary. So this is a bit about what we have coming up and our 50th program. And at that point, I can go into questions. Questions and answers. So I got a handful of slides, but I just want to give you all a sampling of what we have coming up. And this was the challenge we put in front of our committee and our staff, was really to think about this past 50 years. You can look back and have this nostalgia and look at all the great work and talk about that. But also, I think it's the moment to really shoot forward and think about the next 50 years. So the board has agreed that that's really what we're looking for. And you'll see it in some of these programs. Some new artists, maybe people you haven't heard of before. I was at a tour in Florida with Habitat Gallery my first year, and I think the most common question I heard from folks was, who's the next hot artist? Who should we be looking out for? Like we have our collection, but who's next? And I would recommend, if that question ever comes up, to go to the Pilchuck website, look at our programs, look at the names of artists who are in our auction, and really pay attention to those folks, because they're coming through and they're doing some interesting things, and we're helping to pre-select for you. So that's my one bit of advice for those who are thinking about who's next, who's hot. Pilchuck Glasgow, this is our 50th cover, our catalog. As I mentioned, our sessions are about 1 to 3 weeks long. Last year, I think we had artists from 23 different countries. So you're going to get a really broad, diverse kind of technique, broad point of view. And our artistic director, he has some easily identifiable themes, which you'll see here in a moment. But he also has these three sort of organizing principles around the body, the brain, and the soul. And he's really thinking about the body that makes the work, the physical, your body, the brain that kind of thinks these things through, and then the soul is the sort of motivation of why. So you'll see that pepper in here as I go through next year's program. As I mentioned, we want to go from our past to our future. So Ben wanted to start early on with a restoration of our totem pole, and really thinking about the Native Americans in the immediate community that we have. So this, I mentioned earlier, was built in recognition of our 30th anniversary. An artist named David Svensson had been in Alaska studying Tlingit carving, and suggested that we consider a totem pole as a recognition of our founders here at Pilchuck. And the three here are John, Dale, and Anne. John at the bottom, holding a shield with a mighty dagger that's actually cast in glass with neon behind it. In the middle is Dale. You can kind of see a glass coming across the side. His patch, his signature patch, but he's holding on to Raven, which is the bringer of light. And in this case, in this symbolism here, the bringer of the creativity, the idea to Pilchuck. That disc, the sun disc there in glass, also glows neon from behind. And the top is Anne Gould Halberg. It is wrapped in a traditional blanket, and the high place of power with that hat and the potlatch beads that are glass pieces. So this is, we're going to be restoring this. As you can see, it used to be like beautifully well painted and was fresh, crisp carvings, but I think we're going to give it a little cleaning and repaint it for the 50th anniversary. That leads into the first session, which we are calling The Gathering, which is specifically about Native and Indigenous and First Nations artists. We've got Joe David, who is, I believe, Canadian, working with Preston. They were close early on in Preston, important to Preston's early career, and they'll be here with Pike Powers, who's a former artist in residence of ours, and who brought the totem pole, really kind of helped organize that with David. So we've got some folks here. Rhea Friday, who's a Lummi Nation, who just recently joined our board of directors, was voted on our board of directors. So this is our first session, May. We're hoping that, you know, obviously pandemic willing, but we're hoping that deep into the second quarter, we'll be hopefully on the other side of the vaccination campaign. So please wear your masks and let's hope we can run this. Our two visiting artists are Natalie Ball and Erica Lord. And she is, Erica on the right here is a faculty at the Institute of American Indian Artists. This will be a 2-week session. Next will be Corpus. I believe this is the one that's body. So we've got names. I don't know all of these folks, but I know Martin Yaneski, who is sort of one of the, like, hands down, one of the world's greatest figurative sculptures. And Judith Schachter is from Philadelphia. Shout out to the Snydermans. But I know Judith, they both have body in their work. Physical bodies, and these are two visiting artists, Dawit NM, who is a Ethiopian photographer, and the Haas brothers, who I think many of you know. I know, actually, thinking of Snyderman's, I think they used to work with, or maybe continue to work with Evan, the Snyderman son out of New York. It's been referred to as bringing the Muppets to high design. I've heard that phrase. So they'll be visiting artists. We're doing a quick 1-week session for families, people who have children like Beth Lipman and Raven Sky River. They've come here, and we want to be able to offer them a chance to bring their children. So for the first time, we're going to be running a small youth camp for the artists and instructors and students to bring their kids. Throwback again to our deep connection with Europe. Autonoma is an Italian, and they're based in Murano, so deepening that long relationship. And we've got artists from I think that's Sweden and from Poland. So really, again, our that current of working with Europe. Encephalon, I believe, is the brain. So these are some artists who do some really curious, interesting, problem-solving, interesting work. Anna and Matthew at the bottom there. I just got a note that Traver is doing an exhibition there, an online version with Matthew. So if you check Traver Gallery, there's some videos with Anna and Matthew. Session 6, Animus is the soul, is really some interesting, this is Bree Chesler, her work right here. But we've got Fritz Dreisbach coming, who's, I think, first met Dale in the 60s back at University of Madison, so University of Wisconsin, Madison. And there's Hank Murda Adams, who will be working with a class to do a new permanent installation on campus. And then we have 2 1-week fall sessions, which are kind of nice for folks who want to kind of take a shorter bite of the apple, if you will, rather than 2 or 3 week longs. These are some new artists who are working with us. Lydia and John have been around for a good bit, but we've got Karen and Jason, Karen Willenbrink Johnson and Jason have been deeply involved with Pilchuck for many years, part of Billy Morris's team for years. And Benny Hill is not that Benny Hill. He is Benny Hill, who does a lot of work with 3D technology and printing and carving. And then this, I think, fall superstar lineup here, Canada's own Laura Donifer teaching with Megan Stilgis, 2 of the funniest ladies I think I'll ever meet. And Sylvia Levinson, this is her work here, which is, she does this sort of beautiful thing and then sort of punches you in the gut with some reality. I mean, this is sort of wedding cake with a hand grenade on top. And then this, I just love Richard Marquis, Thurman Statham, and Toots Zinsky teaching a course. At the same time, Joyce Scott and Paul Rucker are teaching, former artists in residence. And Corey, who's an amazing colleague and partner with in the glass community out of LA. He's it's going to be a heck of a nice line of Mickey Barber's printmaker as well, I believe, here from Seattle. So this will end on September 19th, which is a day we're going to do a homecoming because it is the day before Dale's 80th birthday. So this is going to be quite the year, pretty much from our beginning of May with a land ceremony and the totem pole right to this event. Just some other sample of 50th anniversary plans. We're doing some exhibitions, Women of Pilchuck, New Directions in Glass. Obviously, we do a tour of campus. I guess it's not obvious. We do a tour of campus in the spring. So hopefully we'll have that work done, some public art on campus, things to be announced. We want to do that homecoming event and our annual auction, which is on October 16th this year. I just got news that Susan Marabito is going to be co-chairing that. So when we heard, thank you, Susan, for your help making that happen next year. And this just our priorities, what we're working on. So we have certainly finance to take care of, our campus really to take care of, make sure we do it right and expand our audience and work on the 50th. So again, how can you help? This is a photo my first year. Dale comes up in the summers and does a blow with his team, and it all sort of points back to Dale. So this is a really lovely poetic photo that they take each year. And there's some, I think Tom and Kendra are in there, and yeah, I'm kind of in the middle in the back by the yellow sign. So pretty interesting group, and really exciting to have Dale come once a year and do a blow on campus, and it's sort of the buzz is on all around when he's here. So this is what we do: courses, exhibitions, residencies, lots of media, and really look at fine art and design. One of the artists, Jay McDonnell, who's coming, works in glass. I believe he's also Canadian, or at least he's living up in Canada.
He's Canadian.
And he was a judge a guest judge, as I was, in the Blown Away show on Netflix, which was filmed in Canada, not far from
you came to visit us, Chris. Do you remember? You came by the gallery.
Yeah, wonderful.
It seems like a long time ago.
It feels like a million years ago. So
It does.
that's my talk. I'm happy to. I know there were some hand raises and some questions. I don't know if how we want to take it away.
Daniel, why don't you do that? Why don't you call out people for the questions? Dan?
He's muted.
If anyone would like to ask Chris a question, they can either use the chat or the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a short video of Dale creating some of his Pilchuck stumps.
At the Museum of Glass in 2006.
That I started a series called Pilchuck Stumps, and I used the word Pilchuck because there were a lot of stumps at Pilchuck. Perhaps it should have been called the Peleus and Melisande stumps, and we actually blew the stumps in wood in order to get the feeling of stumps. Tony. And we blew them in bark, and we blew them in molds and clay molds, wood molds, bark molds. We tried a lot of different things. I worked a lot with Martin Blank, a gaffer that I first met when he was about 18 years old, and he was a student at the Rhode Island School of Design, and Martin and I have been working together ever since.
Break down the bottom.
Dave up there, it looks like Excalibur.
have them open a bit.
Yeah.
And maybe hold it down.
Okay. Dave, on this heat, have it swell and almost open, like a basket 6 inches. Colorado. Just nice and James. Yeah. Good. Nice, Jimmy. Nice, Jim.
We did a couple like that before.
Anyway, Martin blew them, did a great job, but I only did 10 or 20 of them. I don't think I ever really showed them.
Tony, last flash coming up.
Once in a while, I think about going back to do them again.
Fantastic.
Very nice. And that one at the end you have in the picture
Yes, we're going to,
reception area there.
yeah, we'll take a look at it a little later on, maybe after, or should we take that tour? We'll let Chris
Oh,
answer some
there's-
questions now.
There's a couple questions in
Yeah.
the box. Daniel, do you want to go ahead and address them?
Yeah, let me just pull those up.
I saw something pop up.
The one that was about the endowment, someone asked that.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, someone asked if we have an endowment to support.
Yes.
We have about a $3 million endowment, which we would pull out around 140,000 a year to support scholarships specifically. So those go to help keep the cost of school down for the students. We want to double that soon. That's one of my goals, personal goals as a director here, to double that endowment and add some endowment for the facility, so we can keep this campus. It's like I said, you might own a house, but try owning 60 and in the middle of the woods. So it's a lot of work.
Great. Now, Susan, before we take a look at the stumps, I know you briefly mentioned that Dale has not shown these stumps in gallery exhibitions, and I was just wondering why he chose our exhibition this year.
Well, that's a good question. He did in 1992. He showed the stumps at Seattle Art Museum, just a couple of them, and also in Taipei Fine Arts Museum in 92. And that's the only two exhibitions that I am aware of. But the long-standing relationship with Sandra, you started showing his work in 1989. Is that correct? We wanted to do sort of a mini retrospective of the work and show some work that hasn't been shown before. One of it is the series, the Pilchuck Stumps, which you heard Dale say is very, very small. And there's a couple other series if you haven't done the walkthrough before with us, you may be surprised to see. There's some Bird Pootie series that were done with Pinos and Loretto. This is the...
This was the piece we watched being blown, isn't it? That's gorgeous.
It's the piece at the end. This is actually 1992.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Dale used bark and all sorts of different materials to make these stumps. And you saw it flaming and smoking when he was at the Museum of Glass in 2006. If any of you have Chihuly in the Hot Shop, that's the video that won a couple Emmys. You will see that a bit of that little clip that Daniel just showed us. So this is the only one that you have that is horizontal.
Right. I love that view though. Look at that. It's beautiful.
Really.
Gorgeous.
A lot of colors coming through. And then he used a lot of silver leaf and gold leaf in these. as well. You can
Yes.
see the surface.
Beautiful. Chris, have you seen these before? The Pilchuck, these
I haven't
stumps?
seen it, not in person. I did see the
Mhm.
photos and the video, and I was saying earlier, there's authentically Pilchuck because I walk by these this shape and texture every
Right.
day.
Yeah, they were definitely inspired by Pilchuck. I think he also did in Palace and Melisande, easy for me to say, did a
Beautiful.
forest
Yes.
set as well. But this green one on the right,
Yes.
quite spectacular. It captures the light really well. And there's only a few paintings that were done that Dale calls drawings. And this is one of them. I only know of about 2 or 3. This one's really graphic. I don't know if you want to do a close-up of the Pilchuck stump or the drawing. Which do you prefer, Sandra?
Well, let's go in. Dan's got the camera on the drawing,
Okay.
and then we can go back to the stump again.
So you can see the layering. As everyone knows, Dale's always painting assistants that help him do the backgrounds and hand him the colors. Sandra actually was with him painting at one point and on the.
Yeah, that was quite an experience. I had a meeting with Dale. I think it had to be in the early 90s. And I was invited to go up to the roof in his private quarters. And there he was with 3 pieces of large paper that he was painting on at one time, with brooms and mops and every utensil you can think of other than a brush. And they were gorgeous. And here's the green sculpture.
This one's about 20 inches high or so. I love the rough edges on the top. It's silver and forest green Pilchuck from stump from 1992. The leafing on the exterior as well as the texture from the wood is really beautiful. And the
That's
color,
a favorite piece of mine, that green, the green Pilchuck stump.
I figured as much. The painting is 60 by 40 size. And
But it's
this,
interesting the way the blue comes through as well with the light. Because the blue's on the inside.
yeah, it's really more of kind of a purple feel on the outside in person, isn't it? The
It
title
looks
is
more-
Navy.
Yeah, it's more purple today than it usually looks in the gallery. It must be the lighting or with Daniel's phone. But that's beautiful. Very organic.
Definitely not iconic pieces.
No.
Very rarely seen, especially like we said, in a gallery setting. We're so happy to be able to show them here with you, Sandra.
Yeah, they've had a great deal of attention. And of course, people are so surprised because it doesn't look like Dale's work. Look at that.
No.
I love the way that one twists at the base.
Mm-hmm.
Very rugged.
You saw how heavy those were and how Dave Walters really had to pick that up and move it around. That's a great view of this back room that you created with this new wall. And it's a little intimate space of some of those bird putti
Yes.
that were done when Pino Cineretto was at, again, Museum of Glass and at the Hot Shop these were made.
And that was back in 2013, I think, Susan, that
Yeah.
made these pieces. And again, is this the first time these pieces are being shown as well?
You are correct. Yep. As a matter of fact, Dale just signed these pieces just for you. Many of you know of Pino Cineretto, and he has since passed, but he was a maestro in hot sculpting and was just amazing. And did quite a few projects together with Dale, and they were pretty close. He would come to the Hot Shop and to Seattle occasionally. In the beginning, it was mostly the putti, the little small cherubs. Oh, golden, always feeling Italian. This is a particularly beautiful one with the branch base and the branches twisted inside and the 2 lovebirds.
It's a beautiful piece.
I think most of these are called clear and gilded lovebirds. This is what, about 24 inches high, I'm guessing. And you can see the gold leafing, which is typically 22, 24 karat gold leaf that we use on the exterior. You have to be really careful that it doesn't burn off. It's done quite a bit at the end with just a little bit of flashing.
You know, that piece is only 17 inches tall.
That one's 17.
Yes.
I think that's 13,969, isn't it? Maybe I've got,
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes.
it's
Oh,
24.
wait, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah. That's okay. It's really, can you get down inside there, Daniel, or no? Are you too nervous to kind of look down inside? Yeah, look at those twisted branches coming down inside. That's all that hot sculpting. So the team was probably, Jimmy was gaffer, and so he made the vessels that looks very much like James Mungray to me.
Yeah, I think you're
Beautiful leafing pattern, and that oftentimes gives a nice reflection too when the light is illuminating right through.
gorgeous.
In the background, you can see the Persian wall that's also gilded.
Yes.
Just for you.
I believe I was told that it's the first time Dale has incorporated gold into a Persian wall. And we did build this wall especially for the piece.
Yes. I've not seen it too often. I've only seen it a couple times, and I
Very
think it's
beautiful.
really subtle and beautiful. This one is gold leaf without any wraps on it, but that blow through and the reflection is quite spectacular. If you focus just a second on the edge on that. Yeah, right there. Can you stop right there? Look at how the top one has the wrap, and you've got that oxblood lip wrap on the edge. And then the bottom one with the gold leaf does not have the wrap. And look at how the relationship between the two pieces work.
Great shot.
Yeah, that eggplant in purple is a bit challenging to work with. Just like red is, it tends to turn color fast on you. So to keep that rich amethyst color is a little tricky. Another great piece. A lot of movement and energy to this. Many of you are familiar with the Persian ceiling that Chris had in his presentation in the glass house at Chihuly Garden and Glass. So this is that same form that oftentimes people call flowers. Beautiful. Thanks, Daniel.
The overlap's beautiful there.
Yeah. Sandra, do you want to turn around and have him turn around and show that beautiful wall that he...
Painting wall? Sure, definitely.
Yeah.
We got a view of everything as we walk around the gallery.
Yeah.
Because of lockdown, I'm working from home. Dan's in the gallery. This is a beautiful painting wall. Painting walls have always been one of my favorite presentations. But this one especially has more energy and color than I've seen before in anything that I've had in the gallery. It's just full of energy. How long does it take to actually put the composition together, Susan? To create
Well, this composition is a little bit different than your last one. Remember your last one, you had dopios that were all open. So
yes.
this one, Dale decided to frame each one and mount it edge to edge. So it looks like a full installation, but actually each one of those paintings are available individually. So the images of all the work gets pulled, and we spent probably a year and a half, 2 years preparing for your show, Sandra. And through very many iterations and many different ways of working with your beautiful space. You know, your warehouse space is a great environment for Dale's work because we can control the light really well, and you don't have a flood of natural light in. So each one of those acrylic on paper, it's usually Arches watercolor paper, are 30 by 22.
What years were these, Susan?
Oh, they are,
They
they're
vary.
range. There's 2008, there's a couple, that basket right there is 2013 with the yellow interior. Who just asked that, Chris?
2008, there's some going back to 2008, Susan.
Yeah, that double basket right
Yeah.
there is 2008. And the one to the right is 2008.
Yeah, quite a few.
The one Chris has that Dale gifted him is 2019. Oops.
I thought it was on my saved thing, but it didn't show up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's got a beautiful one. When Dale was up in his annual July blow. And
Also, Daniel's walking over to that 40th anniversary basket.
you want to talk about that one?
No, you go ahead with the 40th anniversary. This is
So-
was the front desk as well. We can see both of them at the same time.
Right. So the basket series was started in 1977 at Pilchuck. The first installation was at Seattle Art Museum, where there was an installation of these baskets all on a diamond plate metal display table low. And then in 40 years later, Dale decided he wanted to do something celebratory. He really never did that pickup technique, which is that blanket pattern he did with Flora and Joey early on with Kate Elliott on baskets before. They were mostly on cylinders and soft cylinders. So the pickup technique, I know a lot of you are already familiar with, was something that Dale figured out by pulling little glass stringers, making shards, those little patterns there, and doing it mainly with Flora in the beginning and then Joey later on. These get done quite a few weeks beforehand, and Dale and the team meet, and there's inspiration actually from textiles. So they get put onto the marver that's heated, and then it's rolled on top and picked up. We actually had a beautiful clear blow at Pilchuck one year with this technique with Flora and Joey. This particular glass has some different elements to it to make it change all these colors. So the colors you're seeing, thanks Daniel, that's a great one. You can see the amber and the red and the blues. It's a little bit washed out with Daniel's lighting in his camera. It's a bit richer and probably more closer to what you have it in your photography that you've distributed, Sandra.
Yes.
So this is a gaffer glass that has metal in it, and it changes colors during the blowing process and during the annealing process. Basically, how hot it's getting and how much oxygen is getting onto the surface. One of your favorites, right?
Love that piece, yes. And then, oh, okay, so Daniel's going to show some of our light drawings as well. So these are painted with acrylic paint on plexiglass, which has been sandblasted. The plexiglass is sandblasted on the front. And now I think these are the first three where Dale's sandblasted on the back as well. Yet so much depth. And I believe Daniel's going to turn that light off and we can see what it looks like. The light's from within the piece. The light is at the back.
That's the name, the light drawings.
Right.
In the
And
beginning,
there.
we did these.
So
Well,
that's amazing. When you turn the light out, how it changes. Look at that.
mhm.
Beautiful. It's like two different works of art.
It's because the paint is on the front and on the back surface. So now with the light off, you're not getting the back paint. And a lot of these paints he's using have metallic in them. The one on the left, I think, is pink metallic stems, no? On the Ikebana?
On this one,
On the left one.
It's
Is
more
that
of a
they
pink?
are.
gold.
You're closer, Dan. Yes.
It's more of a gold.
Goldy.
bronze.
Yes.
Is it more gold? It looks like it's one of the pink colors that he loves to use.
Dale seems to like to use pink quite a bit. It's surprising how much pink pops up, whether it's in sculpture or in his drawings.
Wasn't he famous for the line, "I've never met a color I didn't like"?
You're exactly right. That's so true.
Did he say that when he started making the Macchias, where he used every color under the rainbow?
It's very possible.
Yeah.
You wanna, do you want to play with the light a little bit, like slowly? Yeah. So look, you don't even see that beautiful blue background with the light off. So this is illuminated in from the back, and they're also illuminated. You have light on them from the front as well.
Actually, I don't think these two are lit from the front.
Looks like it to me.
Dan, is there a light coming down on that from the front?
These two do not, but the third one does.
That's what I
Okay.
thought.
Yeah, really beautiful. So Dale is always painted on glass, plexiglass. There was some Minneapolis drawings many, many years ago. I think he was with Charlie Perriott and car paints and God knows what, big, huge panels. This is an evolution from that. He's also going back to paint on glass as well, but these light drawings are really beautiful.
Right.
And you've got this suite of very subtle drawings that Daniel is speeding by, but that's fine. Chris had talked about burning. Some of the paintings you showed, were they Itzicos that you showed?
One of them was, one was Etzico.
So Dale's done the same thing. You can see those dark lines.
Yes.
That's he's actually drawing with glass there. And he's using the torch from the hot top oftentimes as well. And this is mixed with, that definitely is a pink metallic going up on that one. And there's some more burning in this one too, is there not? Yes.
Yes.
And you've got some great silvering going on in the background. And then the lighter color that looks kind of like watercolor, there's some great burning on the bottom there. Thanks, Daniel, that's great. The lighter colors are what Dale calls is a 50-50 mix, and he'll take the acrylic bottles and take half the paint out, put half water in, and that's what gets the intensity, the mix of intensity and the depth in these. And those are also the large ones that were 60 by 40 inches.
Yes. Yes.
And from 1997, I believe.
Those are from 2001 and
1995 and 1997, those drawings.
Oh, the drawings. Yes. Sorry. I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about the baskets.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry. And,
yeah. And here's another anniversary basket.
right. That red color is exquisite in person.
Darn
Again,
it.
not 3 or 4 layered on colors. And then look at that patterning on the outside and the surface. So those shards are created by blowing glass, breaking them into little pieces, and then Flora using a torch to make those patterns. Oftentimes there'll be a little bit of millefiori in there as well. It's a great shot.
So Dan, now that you're at the front, when you're finished there, I know there was a new piccolo that came into the gallery, which I would like to see because it's come in since I've not been in the gallery. Let's see that.
Oh, so you haven't seen it yet?
No, because it came in on Wednesday. Oh,
Oh,
so I wanted to take a look at.
well, we're looking at Sandra's Venetian behind her. Look at the relationship to this piccolo. So it's a piccolo.
You're right.
It's just
Beautiful.
It's a piccolo Venetian, technically. And that gold leaf on the surface is beautiful. Look at the modeling of the pickup from the frit. That's a great shot, Daniel.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm happy with it.
Good.
You know, when you choose it from the image, and it always takes me a while to choose, but I thought this was very organic, very wild, actually. I loved it very much.
Yeah, look at the handles and the bits on the side, how they're doubled. They're not singled.
Hmm.
And you've had a really good response to piccolos in
Yes.
this show, and Venetians in general, which is which is really fun to see because there's not that many of those. The Venetians were started in 1988.
So I like that. Beautiful.
You want to show a couple other pieces?
Well, that's another new piece that we just got in as well, which the color is beautiful. It's a very seductive piece, beautiful basket.
Yeah.
I don't have the details in front of me of this new basket, though. I think it's called Ethereal Blue Basket. I'm sorry, I don't know the date offhand. You, Susan?
I didn't print it. I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Sorry, I don't. Can you go in just a little bit? Yeah, because the color gets more intense and it's less of a reflection. Look at that color and that blow through. I believe this one has a blue lip wrap with a trail coming down, which
And this, pardon me, this piece is a little more turquoise in person than the blue, the soft blue we see on the screen.
and it does have a blue lip wrap though.
Yes,
Correct,
it does.
Daniel? Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful piece.
Mhm.
I think there was one more new piece in the niche over to the other side of the piccolo. Green.
Beautiful. Beautiful C form. And this was the sister piece of the piece that you sold.
Yes. So to the gentleman who's seeing this, it is the sister piece made pretty much at the same time.
2001. There was 2 pieces made there. Pierre, you might need to take a look at this.
Yeah.
Really beautiful one.
And then while we're here, maybe just go down, Daniel, to the Jerusalem vessel, which is
You should talk a little bit about that because you were there.
I was. Dale's exhibition in Israel was to mark the millennium in the year 2000. Pierre answered us. You are a devil. There you go. So, this is a series that Dale created because of that exhibition as homage really to the Israel exhibition. And it's different from all other work that Dale's done. It's rugged and tough like the landscape. There's nothing fragile about it. It reflects the stone in the citadel. And I think also the ice that Dale melted. He built a wall, believe it or not, out of ice that he brought from Alaska. And he built this wall. I was there the night that the wall was constructed out of ice, if you can believe it. And it took about 3 or 4 days for the wall to melt. So it was symbolic about the tensions and the issues in Israel. And it made quite a strong statement, to say the least.
Yeah, I believe he even asked for your help in doing that.
He asked me if I would have anyone I might know who would like to help him bring, Susan, how many tons of ice was it from? And I did approach
It
Pardon?
was 60. It was 60 tons.
60 tons. And I did approach a couple of people I knew to ask if they would help. And they said, well, it's an interesting idea, but if they were going to contribute that kind of money, they might like to do it in a way that would be more helpful than ice that was going to melt in 3 days. And I think in the end, Dale supported that project himself, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He did. So we'll show you this one drawing over here. And then I think that we should answer, we have some questions waiting. What do you think?
Sure, and maybe a quick view of the Rotolo, because that Rotolo is gorgeous too.
Sure. Okay.
So this is a little bit larger size, right, Sandra?
Yes, and this one does have a light on the front, so that when we turn the light on the inside off, it will look different than the other 2 did. Now, I love this. It's not showing the red. I guess, again, Dan's camera might be changing the color a bit. But
look when he gets in, you can really see it. This is 50 by 40 inches. So it's a little bit larger than the other pair that we were viewing before.
Mm-hmm.
Is he gonna play with the light? Didn't even see that green and that blue.
So there it is, with the light off.
Yeah.
So this one does have light on the front.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The other 2 were 42 by 32.
Yeah, this is considerably larger.
Yep, 50 by 40 inches. Sorry, I don't know in.
Oh, centimeters? It's okay.
Yes.
We actually use inches in the gallery too. More
Okay, good.
international, we're international. This is a
Okay.
beautiful piece.
Can you turn the light right back on about halfway
Yes.
and do a detail again? Watch how these colors change as he does that. Good thing you have 3 hands, Daniel. Maybe not. There we go. Yeah, nice. I love the modeling of the color behind in that one too. In this side room where you had a big wall installation in your last show, it's really turned into a very subtle, beautiful rotolos. And you have 3 of them.
And of course, one of them we used as the invitation piece, the green one at the
All the way
end, which
back.
is on our catalog.
Can you turn around before you get too far, Daniel, and just show the red one with the, thank you, with the light drawing? I just love the way these 2 look together.
Hmm.
And the depth of that red, that transparent red with the undertones of amber and gold. And then the blue is actually has soda bubbles. If you go in close, you can see it's been sodaed on the base and on the curls as well. And these can weigh up to 140 pounds. Sandra, you've been to a Rotolo blow. Chris, have you ever been to a Rotolo blow? No.
Pretty
Oh, that's new, yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
these were started in 2013. It's not a very big series either. And they were not successful in the beginning. We really had to work hard to, the team had to figure out how to get this glass to anneal. They anneal for about 8 to 9 days without cracking. This is the one from the cover of your catalog, which
Yes.
have some catalogs left if anyone would like one.
Yes, we do have catalogs.
Beautifully produced.
If anyone would like a catalog, please just send us an email. And we're glad to send them out. Chris, I should send you some catalogs.
That'd be great. I'll put them in the library here. I think I got one from Dale. It was pretty nice little note in it too.
Nice.
Oh, nice. And there were very few Rotolo paintings, I believe, that Dale made. But again, with that lovely pink.
Iridescent paint. The background is dark and rich as well, with a little metallic fleck, silver, umber. You can see the dark swirls. So that's from the tip of the bottle of the golden paint he's dragging through. So most of the time he's using squirt bottles, the tips and the back sides as well. But would you like to just show the your installation, the Persian
Yeah,
installation?
well, why don't we look at this? How can you help but miss this piece? This is also a piece that Dale made especially for this exhibition, and a bit of a tip of the hat to our relationship for over 30 years now. I know Dale knows that I'm very partial to greens and yellows, and that's why he selected this color combination. That particular element is beautiful that Daniel was just focused in on.
Really different wrap on that.
Very. Each one of these elements.
Lace-like. And then oftentimes he will use the black plexi to mimic water to get that beautiful reflection as well.
Yeah, you can definitely get lost.
Yeah. The armature is as much part of the installation as the glass. I like the oval shape that it's on as well in your space. So we just highlighted a few pieces. Would you like to do anything else here, Sandra?
No, I think that I mean, there's so many beautiful pieces, but I think maybe we should address some of the questions that have come in. We can always come back and walk through the gallery unless there's something you wanted to see, Susan, or point out.
No, I think that it was
Yeah.
great. It was really great to have Chris here and talk about Pilchuck, which everyone loves, our beloved Pilchuck. You've been great since you've come on board. We've all your hard work, and I know it's a lot of maintenance and a lot of stress, especially this year. I was also on the committee for the auction this year, and we had great success, didn't we, Chris? We had a huge support.
Yeah, it was the digital online part of it scared us a bit. We're following the lead of our friends like Ainsley Gallery and other places are going digital, and we were conservative in our estimates and then blew it out of the water. That was again the heroes of the artists who donate and the collectors who purchase. So thank you guys for that.
Well, that's a nice shot, Daniel. That's beautiful. Okay, so I don't know, Dan, if you're going to pull up those questions. Okay, you're going to hold the camera there. Perfect. It's a good thing. I'm not the computer literate person that does this, so go ahead, Dan.
Well, we had some nice comments from a board member, Tom Caston. And
I'm just catching up.
I don't see really anything else. A wonderful presentation, Sandra and Daniel, from Jackie.
Oh, thank you.
To see. But we know it's been quite some time. We've run over a little bit, haven't we?
We have.
But
Chris, before we go, do you have anything else that you would like to say about Pilchuck or, add?
I will say, a lot of folks ask, where does the name come from, Pilchuck?
Yes.
And if someone asked me if it was a family name, but it's actually, it's a native, an indigenous word for red river or red water. There is already a Pilchuck mountain, a Pilchuck river, there's Pilchuck tree farm. And as I mentioned, there was no Pilchuck in the first year, or maybe even two. But the name Pilchuck was adopted in recognition of our area, our land, our native population, and Red River. It kind of sells itself.
Mm-hmm. I look forward to the day I can come back, and I hope it will be next year for the 50th. I have plans of being there, and Daniel for the 50th anniversary, 100%. First time I visited Pilchuck, I remember clearly it was, I don't remember the year exactly, but it was maybe 90, 91. So it wasn't right at the beginning, but it was in the early 90s. And it was an exciting thing. Every time I've been there, it's very thrilling. You feel that you're really taking part in something that most people will never see or be part of. So it feels very special.
Yeah, I think it's, as you said, there have been so many artists who've come through and credit Pilchuck. There's a phrase in our video about Pilchuck that says, look, every doctor went to medical school, but not every doctor went to Harvard. But when it comes to glass, when you find their resume of the artists that you like, or the people in your collection, I'd be surprised if it wasn't north of 90%, 95% of artists have taught, taken classes, been on staff, in some way participated in this incredible institution. So we're really proud of that. And as I said, it's the thing that keeps me up at night, but pulls me out of bed in the morning to keep running that legacy. So it's a really beautiful place, important institution for glass.
Yeah.
In May of 2019, we took a group of collectors to Seattle. We spent 4 days, probably toured, 20 to 25 glass studios. And the one overwhelming thing we heard from every artist was Pilchuck.
Yeah.
Pilchuck, Pilchuck, Pilchuck.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we had the privilege of visiting the campus, which was, I think, a great experience for everyone. And I'm excited to go back.
Yeah, we're hoping we can continue your groups sometime next year, at least by the end of the year.
I have a bit of a waiting list. I already have people who have signed on for when they can travel again, which is
And there's plenty to see for groups, other groups that are doing this. As you said, you could fill a whole 2 days, 3 days visiting the boathouse, visiting the Tacoma Museum of Glass, Pilchuck, the Billy Morris Studio, that the barn down the road. I mean, there's artists on Lopez. I mean, you name it. There's what's Paul Marione's statement that in Seattle in the 90s, every corner had a bank of Starbucks and a glassblowing studio. So that's still true to this day.
That's true. And then maybe we'll just mention a couple of exhibitions that are going on currently. The Baker Museum in Naples and Cheekwood Museum, I think, is just going to rounding up to the end here. And Dale will also be in Singapore, Gardens by the Bay next year. And so we're just preparing for that. It's going to be quite a large exhibition. We'll probably have maybe 14 or 15 containers leaving soon from this area to head over there. And that will open early April.
Yeah, that's very soon. That's really right around the corner.
Yeah.
We should also mention that our exhibition will be extended.
Yes, thank you.
You're going to
Yeah, well,
officially know.
Because we're in lockdown, especially, at least for a month, our exhibition was to close January the 24th, but we will extend it with the studio and Dale saying their approval probably through to April. Yeah. So
You'll have an official notification of the extension probably the beginning of the year. Are you expecting?
When we went into lockdown, we had to cancel almost 200 tours because of the virus. We were only taking people by appointment to tour the exhibition. So we had 2 people who were booked to tour, and we had to cancel those people or defer them at least until we're out of lockdown. So it's lots of good reasons to continue the show. And thank you. Quite a few people wrote in just now that they enjoyed seeing the exhibition in the gallery, and we love it. I'm going to hate to give it up.
Well, you're gonna have it for another few
Yes.
months and into 2021. There's some great comments here. Allison says, hope to see you back in the Pacific Northwest soon, Sandra and Daniel. Diane says this has been really interesting. And then we've got a nice message from Tom again saying the exhibition is spectacular. It's absolutely mouthwatering, dramatic, and inspirational. Thank you, Chris, Susan, Sandra, and Daniel. And another one from.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, people often ask me, and I always ask Leslie, how's the big guy doing? How's Dale? And she says he's doing fine and making work every day. So I'm hoping that's still true. I know that he sees days off as curiosities. Like, why did you take the day off, right? So
yeah. Why would you ever want to retire? I always had that story. He and I were working on probably Sandra's show years ago. Papers and stuff like everywhere. And all of a sudden he and I were the only ones there. So where is everybody? I go, well, it's kind of 6 o'clock on a Friday night. Maybe they went home.
You didn't think of that, eh?
Yeah.
And he does. He is there just about every day, isn't he?
Right. Yeah. And he's still swimming in the pool. And as with the team, we're still blowing. We're blowing under new safer measures with shields and masks and cleansing the equipment and not handing off as much. So we've found a good way to be safe and secure in blowing. We're blowing about half time, about 4 days a week right now.
Can you blow the same scale, or do you have to blow smaller pieces now?
No, we still have got the big mighty Jimmy Mongrain with his big long arms and big strength.
How could you do it without Jimmy? And I guess those that came before him, they were all big guys, eh?
Yeah, well, we've had some really great artists on the team and still do. Dan Friday is still on the team, who's really important with Pilchuck, and his sister Rhea now on the board. Jason Christian, who you represent as well. but there's some still really great team members. But Jimmy is one of the best glass blowers on the team, and he really can take Dale's ideas and interpret them with his skill set. So thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you on this Saturday afternoon. The sun is just starting to turn golden here in West Seattle, coming through my windows. You might be able to see it back there a little bit. Beautiful, beautiful day with wonderful people. Please reach out to us, reach out to Sandra or Chris or Daniel or myself. And there's lots of opportunities still going on, lots of activities going on.
Good. Susan, thank you very much for being here today. And Chris, I've kind of lost Chris on my screen, but Chris, we couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much. And next time in Seattle, that's where I'll see you next.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So thank you. And thanks everyone for joining us today, and stay safe and Happy New Year again to everyone. We'll see you beginning of January. We'll be back with another guest artist, and see you early in the month. Bye now.
Happy and healthy New Year.
Bye.
Bye. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.